Hello, I'm going to show you my tracker, my personal tracker. This is a tracker that tries to combine everything I like in the tracker I generally use. And if you have a look on my desktop, you can see that I use some trackers. For example, I use OpenMPT, I use Fast Tracker 2. It's one of the trackers I use the most, even if it's outdated. I think that it has never been beaten in terms of ease of use. It's easy for me to project myself in that kind of software because it's a graphical interface and very well designed, and really efficient. And I used Renoise tracker, that is the Rolls-Royce of trackers. And I use also Milky Tracker, that is a very, very interesting evolution that is built on the top of Fast Tracker 2, very focused on Fast Tracker 2 file format, but expands it with really interesting features. So as you can see, these are globally the tools I use, but I also use my own personal tracker that tries to integrate what I find good inside all these trackers. So I like the Fast Tracker too, so I did something similar with my own tracker. As you can see, my own tracker is pattern centric. You've got the pattern editor, that is the core of any kind of sound tracker. You've got the pattern sequencer, you've got the instrument list. Next to the instrument list, you've got the stereo balance. So you can see visually what's happened for each instrument. You've got the subsamples. You've got some features to optimize the samples. So it's something so common, it's very common for any kind of tracker. You've got also some pattern edit functionalities. You've got, for example, a selection edit. So when you select something here, you can edit, copy, paste. This is very common. I wasn't very innovative because everything that already exists is very good and interesting. So I just reproduce exactly the same logic. First of all, you got a kind of melodic assistant I'm actually developing just to help me, for example, to get random new notes. For example, I got top lines. It kind of generates automatically some top lines on the base of previous notes on other tracks. I try to use something that helps me to find new ideas. So it's the melodic assistant, but I won't show you it today because it's not already well working. And so you get also the instruments. So it's something very common. You've got the envelope, you've got the pitch, and what I particularly like in OpenMudplug Tracker is the fact that you can also add other envelopes, including filter envelopes with cutoff and resonance, and pitch envelopes. And I've added them inside this tracker, so you can just access here to the filter envelope with the little knob here, cutoff and resonance, and the pitch envelope that is available here next to the other. So you can swap between the pitch and filter envelope with a little button here, and come back to the panning envelope, so you can really handle them just inside this menu. and you can choose between the knob view or the slider view, because I never been able to decide. I like knobs, I like sliders. So you also got the sample editor, so this is so common. So we get the sample editor, for example here. I can play the sample, I can edit the sample with a little draw pen, I can promote the sample to stereo if I want. I can copy the selection, I can trim, unselect, zoom, unzoom, normalize the sample, reverse the sample, smooth the sample. These are exactly the same thing that are proposed by Fast Tracker 2. I can use a pitch detection just to detect notes, because sometimes I want to guess the notes. So it's a basic Spotify-like pitch detection algorithm. So I use it inside the sample editor, and it copies them inside the pattern editor. You've got all fade in, fade out, loop crossfade, things like that. And you realize that you've got something that has been included in the last Mickey Tracker release. Synthesizer, but it's not as powerful as the Mickey Tracker synthesizer. It's just a simple monophonic synthesizer with a few parameters here, still with sliders or knobs, and you can just generate samples and mix them with this one, or just create new samples easily with that kind of synthesizer. Just a lot of presets here. And you can add tracks, remove tracks, add rows, remove row, edit the pattern. It's so common, it's so basic. And for example, I have imported an old track I did in my past life, and let's play it. Well, it's Bellzone accurate module player, and as you can see, I can import a lot of kinds of modules. I can import, of course, the file Fast Tracker 2 file format. I've also worked on the S3M file format and the mod file format, so you get a bunch of trackers, old school trackers, that all used the .mod file format, and it's a pain in the ass because you've got so many differences inside some formats. Mod file formats, it's one of the most difficult to adapt because there is so many trackers that just make them things. So you got the mod file formats, you've got the S3M, you got the XM, and you've got the impulse tracker. So I had to read the documentation of the impulse tracker file format just to try to import it inside my personal tracker, that is MLT. So you can of course import my own personal file format, but you can also export in .xm, .mod, .historym, .it. You can import, export. For now, I do not recommend to export files and erase your own files. Just try to rename them, because it's not as stable as expected. Sometimes it cannot be opened anymore. So it's not stable. It's why it's still in alpha release. As you can see, I can also import MIDI files. And with this MIDI file, I will show you later on the way I can import a MIDI file in this software easily and export MIDI files. So it's a complete system. And as you can see, I like Renoise Tracker. I like it so well. I like Renoise Tracker because it has you don't have effects, DSP effects on the bottom of the sampler editor. What is the choice of Milky Tracker? Within Renoise, you have real digital signal processing units that you can drag and drop on a true rack of effects. And this rack of effect is available under the pattern editor. So I'll show you that you can easily access to racks with my own tracker. So for example, here you have the implementation of a kind of limited, very limited Renoise logic inside this small tracker. As you can see, you've got on the bottom left visualizers, because each time you add a DSP effect in this kind of rack, you like to see waves, spectrum analyzers, and the phase correlation for analysis. This is a very small analyzers, just to see what's happening inside the DSP racks. So for example, here you've got two kinds of visualization and racks. You've got the rack for the master. This is the last rack, and you've got the rack for the current track. For example, if I'm editing the track 1, here you can see track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4. So you can edit any rack easily by selecting first the track and then adding racks, adding digital signal processing units inside the rack. So it's a bit simple. For example, let's make a test. For example, here I will add a track, an empty track. For example, it's the track number 2. I solo the track, and when I listen to it, you can hear nothing at all. It's logical. And for example, let's add one DSP, and you've got a lot of DSPs that are very interesting that you already know, because if you use the Renoise software, you recognize them. You've got the gainer, the DC offset, the 10-band equalizer, for example. And you've got surprises. You get 3D output. You've got some effects that you don't have natively in the native DSP of Renoise. For example, 3D output. It integrates 3D positioning. What you've got? You got a native 3 bands compressor. This is strange, but Renoise doesn't really have this DSP natively. Everybody needs a 3-band compressor. Anyway, you've got the multi-band limiter, for example. This is really useful. So I've added this kind of thing. You've got an auto-tune natively integrated in the tracker. See? You've got a spreader. In fact, most of the tracks that you will download online are monophonic sample based. So you need sometimes to enlarge, and I don't really like to use a surround technique, even if you will hear it a lot of time. I prefer a spreading reverb, distortion, and you've got meta devices, and it's the meta LFO, signal follower, velocity tracker, key tracker. I don't like really the Hydra device, especially because my tracker is not powerful enough to compute the Hydra device. I just want it to be a CPU friendly tracker. So I decided to just use a meta device with just only three, controlling 3 other devices. So I call it Cerberus. It has 3 heads and not 8 heads. So these are DSPs. So let's, for example, integrate a delay. And let's, for example, so you can see the delay is here, and you've got presets here. You get a lot of presets. And for example, I will activate. Oh yes, I can choose knobs or sliders. I never was able to choose between sliders and knobs, so I've added both of them. And okay, if you want to add anything, for example, you add it there, and I will play some notes. So since I'm in this, you see, there is a little delay. I'm going to make it more obvious. For example, left delay, right delay, feedback. You see? Do, 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 do. as you can see, this is a DSP effect. And you can modify it in real time. So how does it work? For example, it's exactly like in the Reynolds tracker. I get a loop, I'm in edit mode, I take the loop, and I can modify it in real time. It's possible. And we will eventually see later on how you can control the delay with the meta device, and eventually control the meta device with pattern commands, as in the Reynolds tracker. This is something I really liked in Reynolds. A very powerful way of making automations, and I really kind of like it. Okay, when you've done, you may edit off. Well, I will delete this track because I will find the delay here. Remove the delay. And for example, if I play the track from where it started, you can see here the spectrum. Informations about the frequency and here as correlation. For example, if I want to add a 10-band equalizer, I can add a 10-band equalizer. It's a real-time thing, and I will show you something even better. This is the pattern command editor. As you know, the sound trackers are filled with vertical notation. But what is the most disturbing for users are pattern commands, because you've got so many pattern commands that it's very difficult to remember the pattern commands, especially if you've got a lot of different trackers that sometimes have their own thing. So I've got a little helper just to help me to remember what it is. And you will see that I've added some pattern comments. So you've got the typical one that you already know if you use Tracker. You can see that these commands are used inside this pretty song. Basic song. Okay, so you can see, as I said, the typical pattern commands here: arpeggio, portamento, up, down, tone, portamento. These are the most common pattern command that everybody knows. So when you remember them, you remember them. But you have something else. So I've added also the other pattern command, the E pattern command. All of them have been added, including the pattern delay. And you've also got the global command, and you've got special commands. I've talked about it before. You've got the E, and here, this one. This is a command that allows you to inform the tracker that you will have to control an FX in the FX, the rack of digital processing effects. So it's a command that helps you to define what effect will be controlled with the commands of the tracker. So you point to a parameter inside the rack with this kind of command. And so you focus your attention on a rack, and then on a block on the rack, and then on a parameter on the block of the rack. So it's a three-step way of defining what will be modified. And after you've focused your attention on parameter, defined parameter, you can move it with a slider, or you can move it directly inside the pattern. So it's a way to control, and it's a very track-centric way of controlling things. So, for example, I will show you later how to create a control track. A track in which there is nearly no sound, just commands that control a rack filled with, for example, meta devices that control the effects on other tracks. This is and everything starts from the pattern. The pattern first. After that, you've got the meta device, and after the meta device, you've got effects on the track and on other tracks. This is the way it has to work so that it's CPU friendly. And I've also added something that a well-known member of the Renoise community likes. It's sample loop control. You can move the sample loop left or right. You can move just loop start, loop end left or right with the defined speed. And this sample loop automation, in fact, it's something that a lot of people complain in the Renoise community that wasn't inside the software. So someone just realized the tool to circumvent this limitation, and I've directly natively integrated it in the tracker, in my personal tracker, and it's really pattern command based. So as I said, you can toggle track DSP, toggle master DSPs, and you've got also something that is not clearly defined. In a lot of trackers, it's the formant filters, A, E, O, U. You see, these are filters that perform human-sounding mouth voices, and it's here again integrated. And you've got also the control of the cutoff and resonance with pattern command directly. And you also get the Z or Z command. That is a 4-bit command when you can define the altitude and the depth next to the pan command in the volume command. It helps to position your sample in a 3D environment with the HTRF algorithm that I've integrated in it. So you've got the HTRF for headphones. So you can, during the mix, you can position your instruments in a 3D environment. So you've got the internal 3D positioning that is limited, and you've got, anyway, if it's not enough, you've got the DSP processor that has a much more evolved 3D positioning inside, and it's natively integrated in the tracker. So it's something that looks like a finished tracker, but you would be surprised that to see that it's still in alpha release. So it's in alpha release because there are a lot of bugs. For example, the envelopes are not, for now, stable. Sometimes you swap to another kind of envelope and it brings back the old one. So it's a never-ending beta testing, and I can even say it's a beta version, so it's an alpha version. A lot of exportation break modules. For example, I've lost hours of hard making music by exporting and erasing previously done tracks with my shit exporter that totally fucked it up. So I don't want to release it for now because it's not stable and reliable enough. What it does well for now, it imports really well the FTDO file format and it played back things. I'm actually developing the new note actions. The new note actions is one of the most interesting things in the impulse tracker motor renderer, because the new note action allows you to exploit hidden tracks just to make the sound more fluid. For example, if you perform a note and then on the same track you've got another note after that, the previous note is just, the sound is finished cut and it's totally unnatural, and the new note action resolves this issue. But it requires that on the fly the tracker generates hidden, shadowed ghost tracks on the fly just to continue the notes in several ways and reroute them and remix them in the main track. So I'm actually implementing this. I'm testing the stereo. As you can see, I can I can swap between stereo and mono, so I'm testing I'm revamping the renderer to integrate the stereo. I'm also integrating some functionalities, including time stretch the sample to fit exactly the pattern size of the previous at the previous note. For example, you've got a sample and you want to fit it in the pattern. So you use its time stretching algorithm to just make it enter in the pattern. It's a brute forcing. It's inspired by something inside the Reno's tracker. Of course, you've got also a way of rendering the sample using, for example, the one of the track rack DSP and applying hard on the sample all the effects in the defined rack. It's the TFX button here. We get a lot of things inside this tracker, and the size of the software for now is interesting because for now it is 3.5 megabytes uncompressed megabytes, and I'm planning to use techniques to optimize the code, especially in the DSP and the analyzers, just to speed up the process so that I can add more tracks, more shadow tracks, more power inside this little tool. I will probably revamp some functionalities and optimize it, compile it with for example, compilers that are more efficient dealing with memory and a better memory management that what I'm actually using, so that it's more efficient, more stable, more reliable, more robust. This is my own personal tracker. I hope you find it interesting, and see you soon for new features.